Hello, fight fans. This is Stephanie Fleming from Champions Corner. I'm a three-time Canadian kickboxing national champion, and I'm super happy to introduce my co-host, Matt the Milkman Kendall. Matt is a professional Muay Thai fighter. Champions Corner is brought to you today by the Spanglish World and her networks on Zingo TV, channel 250 and 251. Please remember to download both the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores and iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave us a comment. This app is completely free. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 forward. Tonight's special guest is Eric Dubon. Eric is a boxing commentator. Hi, how you doing tonight, Eric?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me. How you doing, Stephanie?
I'm awesome. I was super excited to meet you the other day in Clubhouse, and I thought you had a really great story. So I'm so excited to have you on tonight. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about how you stumbled into becoming a boxing commentator?
Wow, it's a pretty interesting story. I went to college, but I went to college for psychology. I never went to school for media or commentating or none of that. Basically, I was in law enforcement in New York when I was younger. I got into law enforcement when I was a young age. In 2014, I decided to walk away from all of that, and I moved to Florida. Along that process, I was going through a bad relationship at the time, and I wound up stumbling into my aunt's house that I found out that lived here in Florida. Make a long story short, my uncle, who is Alex Nunes, he is the photographer. He takes a lot of pictures for the World Championship Boxing. Now he does, but at the time he didn't. He was told by a friend of his to go down to Miami to take a pictures of a boxer. So I was home, I wasn't doing anything. And he comes into the room and he goes, "Hey, listen, why don't we go down to take a picture of this guy?" And I said, "No, I'm not going." So make a long story short, he bribes me with a hot dog and a beer. So all I wanted was a hot dog and a beer. I had just moved from New York. So I was, into that New York water dogs and stuff. So we wind up going about an hour into our trip. I'm asking him, I said, where are we going? We've been driving for about an hour. He said, "Well, we're going to Miami." I said, "Miami?" I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "That's exactly why, because if I would have told you, you never would have came with me." Fast forward, we wind up going to a CMB convention, which was in a hotel down in Miami. I don't know anybody. I sat down, I was watching everything. I was intrigued by all the people, all the media, all the lights, all the cameras. About an hour into me sitting there, I was bored. A gentleman comes to me and says, "Do you know how to speak English and Spanish?" I said, "Yes, I do." He goes, "Would you mind translating for me?" I said, "Sure, why not?" I'm bored, sitting there. Well, it turned out to be Frank Gentile, which was the commissioner of boxing for the state of Florida. No idea who he was. So I'm thinking I'm gonna translate one-on-one with someone, but it turned out to be that he put me on stage so that I can translate for the whole convention.
Wow.
So I did it. About half an hour, we're done. The message was simple, telling the boxers not to put anything in their water, be early, have their licenses ready, have their medicals ready, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. I go sit down again. I'm like, wow, okay. Then another gentleman come up to me and said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, I don't." He goes, "I'm Ray Sanchez." Ray Sanchez was a gentleman down in Florida and Miami that has Ray Sanchez News, and he was a telecaster for NBC Deportes in Spanish. So he goes, "Listen, I don't speak English as well as you do. I was wondering if you can help me." I said, "Sure, I'll give you my phone number and I'll help you, whatever, He goes, "No, I need right now." I said, "Right now?"
That's like putting you on the spot.
Yeah. And I'm like, "You're going to put this on TV?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "I've never been on TV. I don't know what to do." He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just stand next to the fighter and translate for me. I'm going to do all the talking." I said, "Fine." We wind up going, first interview, Shannon Briggs. Of all, I'm like, wow, this is Shannon Briggs. I watched him as a kid. He comes from the Mike Tyson era. And You know, I'm like baffled. I'm like, wow, this guy is big, you know, and he freaked me out. He kept yelling, "Vamos campeón, let's go champ." And I'm like, oh my God, this guy, you know. So we did him, and then Amir Ayman, which is Don King's fighter, and a young lady by the name of Chastity Martin, the Pompano Queen. We wind up getting those interviews out of the way. He calls me about a week later, and he said, "Hey, you know what? People like the interviews. They were watching them a lot, and, you know, I want you to come help me." So we wind up doing it. I wind up working with him for like almost 2 years. I was with him. Made him make one dime, zero, nothing. We would go to the events in Miami, and a lot of people don't know this, but you know, at that time I was struggling. I was going through financial hardship, and I wound up sleeping in my car because I couldn't afford to pay the hotels, because, you know, at a boxing event, you do a press conference, then you do a weigh-in before the show, and then you do the show.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't afford to pay a hotel in Miami, keep in mind, in Miami, for 3 nights. So I had to do what I had to do. So I made some sacrifices, slept in my car, you know, did what I had to do. I would love to go to like PBC conferences and companies of that nature, because they can afford to give appetizers and have like hors d'oeuvres for the fighters and for the media and for the press. I used to love that because I used to eat, you know, and then I would grab, you know, a couple of pieces of sandwich and put them away for the next day because I didn't have money. I had enough money to get down there for gas, and that was it. So as time went by, we made a lot of connections, and we managed to interview a lot of fighters. Unbeknown to me, there was a lot of people watching us. In 2017, we got the attention of Hector Guzman, who is frasesdeboxeo.com. If you look at frasesdeboxeo.com right now, we're number 21 worldwide. We're in Colombia, Argentina, Costa Rica, Spain. We're all over the place. We're number 21. I mean, that's a big accomplishment from having a site that nobody knew who they were.
Mm-hmm.
With Frases de Boxeo, now we got more credibility because we were backed up now by a major media outlet. It wasn't just, I'm going to interview this guy as a freelancer. No, it's like I'm being backed up now by Frases de Boxeo, which is a news media outlet organization. Wow. So he signed me in 2017, and he signed me in September of 2017. After that, it got a lot better because now we were given credentials to go to big shows. In New York, Texas, Los Angeles, Golden Boy, Mayweather Promotions. We were given the credentials to go interview the fighters. We worked for De La Hoya. I worked for PBC Champions when we interviewed Luis King Kong Ortiz. I was his interpreter in Miami. We did Badu Jack, which is Mayweather Promotions, when he fought in New York. We done De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions. So we done some work for some of these big companies. I wound up doing a show in 2019 in Orlando, and I went to interview Orlando Cruz. Orlando Cruz, El Phenom, was about to retire at that point, and people wanted to know what he's going to do after retirement, how he felt about ending his career, et cetera, et cetera. That's where I met Anthony Arvelo Jr. My first impression was the show that they were doing was an amateur show, and it looked like a professional show. I was baffled because I'm like, these are amateurs? It looks like a pro show. I wind up interviewing Orlando Cruz, and then I met Anthony, and Anthony and I, we clicked right away. I interviewed him. I asked him about the promotion, where he wanted to take the promotion, what direction he wanted to go in. And after the fight, you know, I shook his hand. I said, it's a pleasure to meet you, blah, 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 blah. I did my job. I left. About a week later, he contacts me, found me on social media, and he says, hey, listen, I would like to take you out to dinner so we can talk business. I said, okay, no problem. I don't talk business over the phone. So I go meet in person. So I wind up going. He's like, look, I'm going to put a team together. All right. And I need some commentators. And I like the way I seen your work. You know, there are some people who you look at their social media, right? And they claim to be entrepreneurs. They claim to be so successful. But then you go look at their profile and all you see is selfies of themselves. That's a problem. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's a problem, because if I'm gonna tell you, look, I'm an athlete, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter. Show your skill, show the world what you do. Don't just take a selfie and say you're successful, because to me, people that could be anything on Facebook, Instagram.
Mhm.
So when people look at my profile, all my profiles is just work that we've done. So it becomes more credible when an organization as such as Top Rank, for instance, when they were giving us our credentials right away because they saw the work that we did. It wasn't like, okay, we're gonna do this and then we're gonna put it away. No, everybody was watching it. So I wound up joining Anthony. I got signed to Undisputed Promotion in 2019. And we've been doing shows with Anthony now since then, and the promotion company is growing. And basically that's how I got here.
It's amazing. I think a lot of people can resonate with your story, Eric. Like I said, when I first heard your story, I was blown away. The kind of like commitment and passion that you put into commentating, and I can tell you're an extremely hard worker. To hear that you didn't exactly have it easy getting to where you did, but it never made you give up. I mean, I think that's really inspirational for people, especially in times like today. I'm going to hand it over to my co-host, Matt. I'm sure he has a ton of questions he'd love to riddle off to you.
Absolutely. Everyone that is successful usually has that great story of coming from, scary times. And it's like, I've heard it so many times, the most beautiful sceneries come through the darkest roads, right? And it's so true to hear. Hearing since Monday was International Women's Day, I'm going to go and ask you, what two female fighters would you like to see fight and why?
Oh, Clarissa Shields, definitely. I mean, she just fought and won. I think Clarissa Shields is a very talented athlete. I think in my opinion, right now, she's the best female boxer to date. And I would like to see her fight. I mean, she's an incredible. I had a chance to interview her and meet her. And I'm a professional, so, I don't take anything personal. As a professional, I think she's amazing.
I'm so jealous. I told you this already. I'm so jealous that you met her. And she's actually dropped into the room that me and Eric frequent on Clubhouse a few times. I can't wait to catch her one of these days because she is quite the athlete.
For last night, it was funny because Shannon Briggs was my first interview ever, and he dropped in, and I can't believe he remembered me.
That's pretty cool.
I can't believe he remembered me. I was like, Shannon, you remember me? He goes, yeah, champ, I remember you. Of course I do. And it feels good, when you have these athletes remember you. I mean, I've done work with a lot. I mean, Timothy Bradley, King Kong, Floyd Mayweather, Oscar De La Hoya, I mean, name them, and I'm blessed, to have been able to be around such great legends, such as Sugar Ray Leonard as well, Thomas the Hitman Hearn. These are athletes that as a kid, I watched growing up, and to have the opportunity to meet them is mind blowing to me. I am so grateful and blessed. I really am.
And now look at where you are. I mean, you're a household name in boxing. Your following on Instagram is insane. And like you said, it's all photos of things that you've done and work. So like you're a respected man, and I can understand why. You're super hardworking, and like you said, you put everything into it, from sleeping into your car to where you are now. So it's definitely very inspirational, not just for anyone who wants to become a commentator or is a fighter, but for anyone who wants to get to where they're going. There's an important message there.
The journey that you go through. Look, first of all, you have to put God first in your life. Without God, it doesn't matter what you do. You got to have God in your life. You have to have faith, and you have to believe. Everybody's road is different. It took a long time to get here. It wasn't simple. It wasn't. And you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still not where I want to be. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to continue to work hard to get to where I need to get to, because I don't give up. I had many opportunities to throw the towel and give up. Look, I was denied credentials at first. I was denied entries to shows. I went to bed in my car without any money to eat. All right. There were times where I didn't sleep because, I had a 1993 Honda Accord, a 4-door. And I remember, and I used to sleep in the back of that car. I used to find Walmarts because in Florida, you're able to park at Walmart 24 hours without having your car towed. So I would drive around and find a Walmart, any Walmart, and I would go and park and go to the back seat and take my shoes off and go to bed. And there were times where I was hungry, but I didn't have money to go, not even to go buy a cheeseburger, So that made me understand, and it made me humble more, and made me understand that this journey wasn't easy. It's not. So for those people that want to do something with their lives, you can, and don't give up, because if you give up, you don't know what can happen. You don't know what can happen. So, you got to keep going. I saw a picture one time of a man. He was digging a tunnel. And it's funny because he was trapped in the tunnel and he's digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. And there was about this much room left before he can find the exit to glory. And you should never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up.
There's fighters and quitters. Now, would you say you had said something that I actually hated too, when you see, I'm an entrepreneur, president of this company, and like you said, the selfie stuff. I see that a lot with young people today, doing that, like, oh, this is my business. Would you say that really irks you or bothers you, knowing how hard that you've had to work to get where you're at?
I'm going to be honest. It doesn't bother me because everybody's entitled to be who they want to be or do what they like to do. And I'm a type of person that I respect everybody's opinion and decisions. If that's the route that you want to go, by all means, that's the route you want to go. That's not the route that I want to go.
Yeah. A
lot of the influencers now, like YouTubers like Jake Paul and Logan Paul, listen, these kids are influencing another culture of the sport, because they're not athletes. Is it disrespecting boxing in a way? You can say so. I mean, because they're not fighting because of Thomas Hearns, a marvelous Maverick Hagler. They fought for pride and honor. Mm-hmm. These kids are not fighting for that. They're fighting for this.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you see something like that, now, am I hating on them? Absolutely not. You know why? Because they got instant fame, number one. Okay. And number two, you got people like Dana White tossing them thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So blame them? Absolutely not. Yeah. Because I know that if you and I were given an opportunity to go fight somebody for $1 million, we would probably step into the ring too, right?
Heck yeah. And maybe even 100,000. maybe 2,000.
Hey. With that being said, I don't blame them, because the way things are influenced now by the media, I mean, it is what it is. I went to see Jake Paul fight when Jojo Diaz fought Tevin Farmer. I was there in Miami with Eddie Hearns, and man, it was big. The place was sold out.
What'd you think about his boxing skill? I mean, I guess the basketball player, I forget his name. I always forget his name.
Nate Robinson.
What do you think about the skill set? I was actually surprised. Nate was so horrible, and did it make Jake Paul look good? I really don't think he's good at all. But I think like he actually might have known some amateur boxing at that point. Like, I was like, he looked a lot better, of course, than Nate. What did you think about that?
Well, I seen Jake Paul fight in person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you and give you my professional opinion.
Yeah.
He does have some skills.
Yeah.
I give him. He does. He does.
I was shocked. A little shocked.
I was surprised the first time I was there for his professional debut. And I was totally surprised that the way his style of fighting, I'm thinking he's gonna go in there and just throw punches. No, they actually were technical punches being thrown. He was listening to his corner. So you know what? I give him that. I give him the respect. Okay.
Yeah.
That he talks a lot of trash and he calls out people and now he thinks he can beat everybody. That I don't respect, but at the same time, I understand why he does it, because he's got to do the propaganda. And if you are gonna go fight, let's say you and I are gonna go fight, and you don't talk trash and I don't talk trash back to you, who's gonna want to see that? Nobody.
I know what you're saying.
Now, if I say, oh, Matt, you know what? I'm gonna beat the out of you, and you know what? You ain't nothing. Man, you're done. Wait till I see you. Wait till you step in the ring. People are gonna be like, wow, no, this guy means business. This guy wants to fight. It is what it is. But and back to the question, he did have some skills. He does. I'm not gonna do I think he can beat guys that he's calling out? Absolutely not.
You think he can beat? I don't think Ben Askren has good boxing whatsoever. But
No.
What do you think about that?
Well, have you looked at Ben Askren fights? I mean, not taking nothing away from Ben Askren because
he can wrestle, but
UFC,
wrestling ain't boxing. That's for goddamn sure.
Look, Ben Askren, you can say whatever. People can say whatever they want about Ben Askren, but he fought in the IFL. I think he fought in the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done things that people want to do and aspire to do and can do it. So do I think Ben Askren is a loser? No, absolutely not. I think I give him credit because he stepped into the ring and he fought. Now, is he on the level of some of these talented UFC fighters? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was devastated because I went to high school with Jay Heron. I don't know if you know who Jay Heron is.
No.
He
Jay
fought
Heron?
Yeah, Jay Heron.
Yes.
He fought the thoroughbred, they call him. He fought Tyrone Woodley. He fought George St. Pierre, and he also fought Ben Askren. Yeah. I went to high school with Jay, so I know him. He's my friend. He's my high school friend. We both grew up in Freeport, Long Island. And I was devastated when Jay lost to Ben Askren because, in my opinion, without disrespecting anybody, I think Jay Heron is a better fighter than Ben Askren. They gave him the fight, though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you've seen your more than your fair share of fights that look like they went one way and the judges didn't necessarily see it that way.
Oh, absolutely.
That happens in every combat sport.
Yeah.
Eric, of all the fights that you've commentated on or all the fighters that you've interviewed, what moment stands out in your mind where you're like, I made it?
When I was with Floyd Mayweather, we went to New York City when he fought Badu Jack was there when he fought the British kid. I can't think of his name right now. So many fighters.
Yeah.
And Floyd Mayweather was there, and he was in the room with us, and he was talking to me, and he goes to me, he goes, "Hey," he said, "You know how much I paid for this watch?" He had a $2 million watch on. I don't know the name of it. He had a $2 million watch on. And I look at him and I say, wow, that's beautiful, man. I say, you see this watch right here? I said, you know how much I paid for it? $19.99, Walmart. He started laughing, and I said to him, wow, I can't believe I'm with money Floyd Mayweather, and there's no security guards around me. I can talk to him and just chill out with him. And he was cool with it. That's when it hit me, and I said, wow. Because, Floyd Mayweather doesn't let anyone get near him. He's got about 7-8 bodyguards with him at all times when he goes out into public. And believe it or not, they will not let you get within 15 feet of Floyd.
Yeah.
They just won't let you get near Floyd. It's just that simple. So
that's how it is in the game. You get respect after you've been around for a long time,
And then when I met Oscar De La Hoya, I mean, that was because Oscar De La Hoya was one of my childhood heroes, the Golden Boy. And when I met him, I was like, wow, I can't believe, and Sugar Ray Leonard, when I met Sugar Ray Leonard, man, I was, because I used to watch Sugar Ray Leonard fight. My dad was a big fan of him, so people like that, and then Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield, Michael Moore, I hanged out with them and talked to them, and they talk to me like they know me, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's great. That's really is.
So cool. That's so cool.
It is. I mean, it's I'm telling you, it's been a blessing. It really has. And I would have never believed you if you would have told me this was going to happen to me just 7-8 years ago. I would have never believed you. I mean, we build up because we work so hard, and we drove when I was at Roy Jones' last fight. Okay, we drove 7 hours to Pensacola, Florida. Okay, did the show, waited for Roy, did the press conference. I interviewed Roy. I was the only one that was allowed to interview Roy, which was, to me, was, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, why am I the only one being allowed to interview Roy in his last fight as a professional? All right, we interviewed him, and as soon as we were done, we drove another 7 hours back home. I didn't sleep for like 24, 25 hours. Wow. So, but guess what? We got Roy.
Yeah, I would drive that far for Roy too. I think anyone would.
We got Roy. So now I contact Roy and I said, Roy, how you doing? I'm Eric DeBon. I'm with Undisputed Promotions. I'm with Frases de Boxeo. I would like to interview one of your fighters. No problem. Come on down. So you build connections with these people because you're a professional and you treat them with respect.
Yes.
And that's what has happened. So along the way, a lot of these promotion companies, they already know who we are. So we contact them and say, look, we want to attend your show. We need a credential. Now, you can go as a spectator, buy a ticket, or you can go as a media and get a credential. So you can walk around backstage and then you can interview the fighters.
Mm-hmm. So that's what actually me and Matt are working on now for the same reason, because I think going backstage and going as a reporter, it's just like a different experience completely. And one thing that you said in that chat that we were having the other day that really stuck out to me too is how important it is to go by your word. If you say you're going to be somewhere or do something, that in this industry, you need to be someone who sticks to their word.
Absolutely. When you contacted me this morning, I committed to talking to you. So I'm going to keep my word, because now, Stephanie, if I would have just ignored you and not logged on and not even messaged you or anything, you think that you're going to trust me now and probably invite me back to your show? Probably not. Probably not. And I always tell people, a lot of people, when I meet people, a lot of people have seen me, and don't get me wrong, it's flattering. I do my work and I come home. I'm not out in public. I'm not a flamboyant individual. I do my work. I work hard. I hustle. I get the job done, and then I go home. So now when people meet me at events, they're like, hey, we saw the interview, man, great interview, this and that. And that feels good. But what I'm trying to get at is, if you're going to do work, you have to make sure that you go through with it. I will not promise anyone or tell anyone that I'm going to show up and not show up.
Yeah.
That's number one. It's unprofessional. It's disrespectful. Okay. And it just goes to show you that I am not a professional.
Yeah, exactly.
My dad taught me the exact same thing from young. Yeah. And I always follow through with it. Follow through with your word. And
another thing is, don't ever compromise your integrity for nothing, because the minute that you compromise your integrity, people will not respect you. We got to this point, because we built up a little bit of respect for ourselves. When I'm in public, I respect everyone. You will never see me talking trash about a fighter. You will never see me putting down a fighter, because that's not what I'm there for. I'm there. If I go with Frases de Boxeo, we're there to bring out the media and to interview the fighter and to put him out there, put him out to the world. Ask questions like, what's your next move? I'll give you an example. Armani Almestica, he fought for the Puerto Rican team for the United States. What's next for Armani Almestica? Do you want to go for that title, or do you want to go for the one for the Puerto Rican title representing the United States? So people want to know certain things like that.
Yes. 100%. Let's talk a little bit about your promotion. Tell us a little bit about that. And I know I'd already asked you this question, but I always like to give some exposure to female fighters. And I know you're a big supporter of women's boxing as well. So just tell everyone a little bit about your promotion. And then I want you to tell us who you're really excited to see get back in the ring out of your promotion, one of your female boxers.
Oh, okay. Well, Undisputed Promotion has been around since 2017. It was started by Anthony Arvello Jr. I give Anthony a lot of credit because his vision is something that we're both hungry. And in this business, I learned one thing: you got to stay hungry, and you have to have a vision. If you put a team together and your team doesn't have the same vision that you have, something is not right. Stephanie wants to do a podcast. Stephanie wants to blow up and have a lot of guest artists, boxers on her show. But if Matt is not on the same page as you, guess what? You're going to clash. So you and Matt have to have the same vision to where you want to get to. Anthony and I have the same vision to where we want to get to. And Anthony and I both, we work hard. He works harder than me because of, again, having the promotion, making all the deals, making the fights. I mean, that's a lot. My job is to learn the fighters. My job is to reach out to the fighters. My job is to interview the fighters. And my job is to go to the show, do the press conferences, do the weigh-in. And when I sit at that table, when you're fighting, I want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about, because I want to make you look good, because you're fighting for us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And our job is to get the fighter out there. Our job is to promote the fighter. If nobody's promoting the fighter, nobody knows who he is.
Have you found that with COVID that it's really affected your promotion, or dealing with how to navigate around COVID-19? And I know it's very different from country to country. I know it's different here in Canada than the States, but has it been harder to continue to grow Undisputed?
No, actually, you know what? Thank God. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. 2020, we were supposed to do 6 shows, or 5 or 6 shows, I believe. We wind up doing February 25th of 2020, I believe. And then we were shut down until November. But throughout that time, Anthony continued to work to put things together. Throughout that time, I reached out to fighters. We did some interviews, and you know, we tried the best. Now, see, the thing with me is that I'm signed to Undisputed Promotion. I'm their commentator, but I'm also with a media outlet. So if I want to go interview a fighter, I can go interview the fighter. So I have access to a lot of different promotion companies and a lot of different trainers that already know who we are. So if I contact, let's say, Christopher Pitufo Diaz, I don't know if you know who Edgar Berlanga is.
No, I don't.
I've only seen one of his fights.
Edgar Berlanga is 16-0 and 16 knockouts. Okay, he is on track to break
16 knockouts?
Yes, he's 16-0 with 16 knockouts.
Every single fight was a knockout. That's insane.
Yeah, there's a fighter whose name is Ali Raimi. Ali Raimi has 21 straight knockouts, first round knockouts. Edgar Berlanga is on track to beat that record. Okay, he's 16-0. He's about 5 fights away. The kid is a monster.
Wow.
The kid is a total monster. I mean, you want to be in the presence of a monster, the kid is a monster, because he will knock you out. Yeah. There's no question about it, okay? So he's fighting April 24th here in Orlando. So we know the trainer. He's trained by Nelson Rodriguez, who also trains Josue Vargas, Christopher Pitufo Diaz, Edgar Berlanga, TJ Thompson, and Christian Camacho, Hector Camacho's son. Right? Now, we know Nelson for many years now, about 4 or 5 years now. So now when they come to fight, Undisputed Promotion has nothing to do with that. But Frases de Boxeo does, because now I got to go interview these guys.
Yeah, I see.
So this is how I stay active. Because I'm not only with a media company, I'm also with a promotion company. Yeah. But when the promotion company comes around, I got to stick with the promotion company to get the show out of the way.
Oh boy.
and now that we're talking about that, this week I'm actually going to a weigh-in in about 10 minutes. Combat Night Promotions is an MMA promotion. Undisputed Promotion is a boxing promotion. They're doing a show called Clash of the Titans. Be on the lookout for them, because they're gonna merge and they're gonna start doing MMA and boxing shows, and it's gonna be big. It's going to be big.
Eric, can you ever see them branching out and doing Muay Thai or kickboxing, similar to how one championship is an umbrella? And also, if that ever happens, you ever have any connections? My co-host here has had 85 fights, and he is hungry for another. So I'm just putting that out there.
Tell you what, you told me you wanted to get into boxing, right? You're trying to. Well, listen, if you come down to Florida, I'll put you on to the right people so that they can talk to you. And guess what? You want to be on one of the shows, you show them what you got, and they'll put you on one of the shows. Now, if Matt does MMA and he wants to talk to Combat Night, I'll put him onto him and let him show them his skills, and they put him. I mean, look, it is what it is. We're always looking for talent.
Yeah.
You know, if I see a talent, I'm going to put it to their attention. I say, hey, look, we got to watch this kid or this female, you know, she's a great fighter. Jasmine Artiga. I met Jasmine Artiga in Florida about 2 years ago. So I was real excited when I found out that Jasmine Artiga was going to fight for Undisputed Promotion versus Randy Morales 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Right? And she's growing. She's a complete athlete. She's an all-around athlete.
Yeah. So you're signing a lot of female talent, it sounds like. I mean, it's really starting to become, gaining some momentum is women's boxing, for sure. And people like Clarissa Shields, like Katie Taylor, like Jasmine are really, you know, paving the way and making fights exciting so that viewers tune in.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you something about that. You know, female fighters, in my opinion, they bring a lot to the table, because I think that a lot of people want to see that now.
I didn't pay him to say that, guys. I'm just Eric really does believe that.
I believe that, you know, female fighters, you know, people want to see that, you know, and especially, I'll give you an example of someone like Jasmine Ortega, who's a complete athlete. Why wouldn't you want to see her fight in the ring? You know, I mean, of course, with all proper precautions and all the laws and everything, of course. Why wouldn't you want to see that?
Yes, I agree. So Eric, let me ask you this. Recently, the Olympic Committee has made some major changes for the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Some changes have been that they've added a couple of weight classes for women. They've decreased the amount of weight classes for men. And now there's rumors that professionals will be allowed to fight in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, they're going to do whatever they want to do. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if it's going to be good for boxing, then I'm all for it. Great. But if it's not, then, you know, I don't think it's a good idea. Yeah,
I hear you. So you don't think that having professional fighters is necessarily going to do anything for the world of amateur boxing?
You know, amateur boxing, if you promote it right, you know, you give these kids an incentive to fight to become pros for something better. It's like if you watch college football. If you watch college football, I like to watch a college football game better than an NFL game. Why? Because these kids are hungry, because they want to make it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Matt, I know Eric has some fight promotions to get to. So did you want to ask him a last question before he has to take off?
Yeah. What do you think about Ryan Garcia and the Manny Pacquiao? I think we lost him.
Sorry, yeah. What were you? I'm sorry. What was that?
Ryan Garcia and the Manny Pacquiao.
Ryan Garcia and Pacquiao. Let me tell you, Ryan Garcia has stated that Manny Pacquiao is his idol, and he wants to fight his idol. But at the end of the day, you know what? Manny Pacquiao, for 42 or 43 years old that he still can fight. So Ryan needs to be careful with what he wishes for, because like De La Hoya ended Chavez, Hector Camacho ended Sugar Ray Leonard. It might not be that simple for Ryan to end Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, I mean, Manny Pacquiao is an amazing boxer, and it's not like he's just going to be walked over or anything.
Absolutely not. Manny Pacquiao is an extremely talented fighter. He's one of these fighters that come around once in a while, you know? So it's not going to be that simple for Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is a talented fighter. I like Ryan Garcia, but he needs to be careful what he wishes for, because Manny Pacquiao is not going to be that easy to get rid of.
For sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Eric, thank you so much. We really, really appreciate your time. You're a network of resources and knowledge, and we really appreciate your time. Like I said, I'm just wondering, did you have any sponsorships that you wanted to give a quick shout out to before we let you go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, you know, Undisputed Promotion, you know, we're growing, we're coming. Frases de Boxeo, the media company down based in Miami. I also want to shout out Ubuntu Revolution, Mr. Genius, because they keep me dressed. I didn't go into detail, but I also do some work with Ubuntu Revolution, which is an urban clothing line that I also advertise for. They're really urban streetwear, probably one of the best clothing lines in the business right now. So UbuntuRevRetail.com, UbuntuRevolution.com. You can find UndisputedPromotion.net and FrasesDeBoxeo.com.
So everyone, please jump on, follow them on their Instagram. Eric's definitely got some amazing fighters under that promotion and some great fights coming up. Again, thank you so much, Eric. We really appreciate your time.
And you can find me on Instagram. My first name, Eric, ERICK _Dubon, DUBON 10466.
Thanks so much, Eric. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I hope to speak to you guys soon.
Definitely. See you. Have fun tonight.
Thank you.
So Matt, we've got some major fights coming up tonight. Tonight is Lion Fight 64. We've had some guests on our show. We've had Cody Carrillo. We've had Andy Nugent. We've had Joe Stripling, sorry. So some exciting fights for us for sure tonight. Who are you most excited to catch?
Well, because speaking to Joe last week, I just like after speaking with him and getting to know him, you have to kind of expect to root for him. Sorry, I had to switch spots there. I was getting a little choppy. Yeah, I have to kind of. He grew. Joe grew on me. I after interviewing him, and I really hope the best for him, and I want him to, you know, do really good and get his KO. Keep that KO highlight reel tonight. And then you had on who you said it was Cody.
Cody Carrillo, yeah, I'm really excited to see him fight as well. He's taken on a guy who's a little bit less experienced, a little bit of a smaller frame. So definitely I see it going Cody's way, but that'll be another exciting bout for sure.
Underdogs are always scary, but I definitely put Cody in the lead on that one. But man, I've been an underdog many times in my career, and I'll say that it's lit a different fire under me. So never count an underdog out.
Yeah, that's a great point to make.
Yes.
As well as Lion Fight 63 on Fight Pass tonight. UFC is also on. Any bouts you're looking forward to seeing? Francis maybe?
No, I hadn't really given the UFC for tomorrow too much of a look. Like I said, I've been looking at the one a lot, and I kind of came off the UFC, but I definitely will be checking it out. I know last week with the Style Bender, we never talked about that fight, and the need opponent. Those are two things that I've just been talking about a lot this week, and we'll go back to the need opponent. I forget. Do you remember his name? I forget his name. He was the co-main. He caught that knee, or he caught that knee in the head, and he was down to opponent, and a lot of people were asking me, like, what would you do? What is it, you know, he should have kept on fighting, and you know, what do you think about that? And honestly, I'm gonna say something straight up, is if it is gonna affect your fight one way or another, if you're got concussed, if you got knocked out, or maybe, hey, it just rocked you a little bit and you got cobwebs, man, he's walking away with that title. I understand you're a fighter, fighters fight, but you look at this now, he's the UFC champ. He gets to defend that title under UFC title holder money, right? What if he went out and he did continue to fight, and that affected the fight, and maybe his chin is now rocked, and he goes to sleep from that, and that could have cost him and put him down the ladder. So I mean, I think it was a good move on his part. You know, kind of remind me of soccer players a little bit. But
Sterling was the guy who got paid.
Yeah, Sterling. I wasn't expecting to talk about that tonight, but that was something that I think sent a lot of, hey, well, how come you didn't keep on fighting? We're already doing a tough sport. We're doing something that's really hard, and then to have an illegal blow, a low blow, or anything that will hinder your ability to fight at top level. I mean, come on, right?
Matt, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that has been a hot topic, and I agree completely with what you're saying. I mean, a lot of people want to drag him through the mud, but at the end of the day, like, there's a human factor there. Like, we truly don't know how concussed he was. And he has to go by what his coaches are telling him to go by, and he has to do what he thinks is right as a fighter. And you're right, like, those were not the rules. That's not what he signed up for. So if I was to put myself in his shoes, most likely I probably would have done the same thing, honestly.
Yeah. And hey, maybe that sets up the rematch, right? So now they're both getting paid again, right? They got paid once, you're getting double pay. And
you know, there's been some fuel.
Yeah, and he's getting paid championship money now. I mean, hey, if the same thing was done to me, could I say I'd probably be dumb and get up and keep on fighting, because I'm dumb like that, and I do stuff like that. I'm very my pride gets in the way a lot of the time, and it would stop me from listening to my coaches, and maybe that's my downfall. But I think that went down perfect. Maybe afterwards he shouldn't have gone out and partied and shown it, because then it's like a, hey, you know, were you really that bad? Why are you drinking if you had a headshot? Like, so.
Well, he gave the media and a lot of disappointed fans the fuel that they needed to drag them through the mud. Basically, you're right. He made a poor choice in going after party afterwards, but I think really still we're both right and correct in saying we have no idea the extent to his symptoms.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was something really to talk about. And you get two perspectives always with people. Some people are like, oh yeah, man, yeah, that it was good that he stopped it. And then you know, that he didn't. Oh, he's not a real fighter. And I mean, come on, man. In my eyes, I felt like he was winning.
You don't get to the UFC without being a real fighter.
Exactly, right?
Any keyboard warrior can say that. I mean, that's pretty easy, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, except for CM Punk, right? And then you know, Amanda Nunes, like I think, yeah,
love the champ.
She is something else, eh? I just a physical specimen. You know, I don't see any stopping her.
No surprise with that win there. I mean, she absolutely obliterated Megan Anderson, which is what we all thought would happen. But what a beautiful image to see her bring her little tiny baby into the ring. I mean, it's kind of cool when you think about how much fighters have to handle. Like, you're a father, I'm a mom, so we kind of understand, like, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to fighting. And to do it with such a small baby, I mean, that's another champ move right there.
A lot of sacrifices, a lot of, and we've said this before, dinners missed, birthdays, funerals, weddings, whatever, right? You know, like there's a lot of times missed, and it was such an amazing thing right before International's Women's Day. Like, it couldn't have been any better, and she's so respectful. I like that. She's not like what's her name, Joanna, and you know, I'm not like that. I don't like that. I like to watch it in hopes that they get their face beat in. But she's very respectful. I like her. She's a real champion. It just shows you that you can be yourself and kind and show people martial arts, or you can show it a different angle, which would be the money and the hype, right? So she's she's definitely never ceases to amaze me.
I agree. What else are you excited to talk about in the world of Muay Thai?
With Muay Thai, I'll go back to one last one, was the style bender. Okay. And two, and I'm glad that we finished off with Amanda Nunes talking like that, because I really like how he took it on the chin, and he was so respectful. And you know, when he got to the post fight conference, press conference, he said, you know, he's like, you know, you win and lose. It's all about how you come back. And he goes, it's either you're with me or you're not. If you fall off, then you're not meant to be part of the his fan base. And he took it like a champ. And I actually liked him a little bit more after it. You know, I found his style impressive yet annoying. But after the fight and the way he talked, like he made an actual fan out of me. Like I like to see when people lose and how they conduct and handle themselves.
Yes, because that's another aspect that people don't talk about very often, about being a good loser. I mean, being a sportsman-like. I think it says a lot about your character, and it says a lot about your professionalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you've seen it. We've seen more than one guy at Wacko Worlds who lost, took the helmet and whipped it across the ring.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it just looks stupid.
It does. It's very petty. I hate to see that stuff. It's disrespectful. It's not martial arts. And it's like, when it's just the same as, I understand when you hit and knock someone out, your instinct is to be going, yeah, like that. But at the same time, whenever I've TKO'd or knocked someone out, I get to the corner as fast as I can. I wait, and I don't jump around, jump on the ropes, and the fight's done. And I come over and I get on my knees and I bow and I get down to whatever level they're on. If they're standing, I'm at their feet. And just to show the respect that you're just as much a warrior as I am, could have gone either way. And I think it's so important.
So everybody, jumping into our conversation now is Hayden Cowie. Hayden's also a guy I met through Clubhouse. I know Eric as well. Earlier we had Eric on. Hayden.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. I was just saying, earlier we had Eric on.
Oh, did I miss him?
Yeah, he was kind of telling us the same story he was saying the other day in Clubhouse about how he stumbled into boxing as a commentator. Oh, I think we lost Hayden again.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you. We just can't see you, Hayden.
Oh, okay. Not sure why.
That's okay.
But I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear.
Give everybody a little introduction into how you got into the world of martial arts.
Oh boy, how I got into martial arts. So when I was a kid, I came up. So I was born in the States, but immediately I went to the Caribbean to live with my family, and that was many moons ago in the 1970s. I won't say exactly when, but when I came back up, I moved to Texas, Houston, Texas, and quite different looking, different sounding kid, and was getting into fights and quite often. And so my father decided I needed some discipline and to learn to defend myself rather than actually fighting. It was his solution to me not having to fight was being able to defend myself and neutralize a situation and maybe learn how to be confident enough to try talking my way out of things. And it helped, but I became addicted to martial arts, and bouncing around there from various types of karate to finally Muay Thai, where I landed, and then at one point started competing unbeknownst to them, until a neighbor came over to my father one day and asked when I was going to remove my 6-foot tall trophy from his garage. So once we got that sorted, and my father yanked me out of martial arts for a bit for my dishonesty, and then later on I picked it back up on my own with his best friend, who was a Muay Thai instructor, and I had the bug. When I got into the military, it was great because I could travel around and experience different cultures and their martial arts scenes around the world. Started competing in kickboxing, was 2-division champion, and then went over to boxing to make myself a better kickboxer. I had always loved boxing and respected it as a great sport, great art form, and just was annihilated from pillar to post every time I went in there by some guys, and learned great respect for it, but became very much, again, addicted to it. I knew I needed mastery of that. Going back to kickboxing with it, it actually made things so much easier for me. I had so many more options, and I saw the fight differently. I realized that I was playing the geometry of the ring a lot different, and was able to control space, tempo, everything much better, and set up things much better. And just after that, I decided that I was going to stay with boxing, and competed in the New York Golden Gloves 4 times, made it to the finals twice, won the Empire State Games, and 2-time finalist at the New York Metropolitan Games as well.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Hayden, you don't know, but my co-host here is actually also a professional Muay Thai fighter. He's had over 85 fights. He loves everything.
Oh, wow.
Muay Thai. So of course I got to pass him the ball and let him ask you a question.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Pleasure to meet you, Hayden.
Likewise.
You know what? Hearing that is pretty amazing, because I do dual kickboxing and Muay Thai, and here in Ontario, Canada, Muay Thai was illegal for a while, meaning you couldn't compete in it. You could train in it. So I had to do kickboxing, and I started kickboxing more and doing more kickboxing fights. And I started to really work my footwork, circling, triangle step, getting out of the corner, working like a boxer. I always had great hands for kickboxing. And I found once I went back to Muay Thai and I adapted that kickboxing and brought it into like a hybrid, almost like a Dutch style Muay Thai, it really helped with me. So hearing that boxing helped you, just elaborate more on that if you could.
Yeah. So one of the major areas that it improved with me was in increasing my ability to slow things down in my brain. When you're boxing, you're forced to use the space you're in and decide the geometry and the distance much faster, because these hands are coming at you faster than anything else. And once you deal with hands for so long, you immerse yourself in it, everything else seems so much slower. You seem like you have just mounds of time to think. So that was one place that it helped. And I was able to really put more effective and more thought out strategies together and combinations together and things like that. So that was probably the main thing. And again, yeah, controlling the space that the fight was fought in, angles that I normally would not have used or thought to use. You know, I teach with a philosophy, and I train with a philosophy that the majority of defense is circular and the majority of offense is angular and linear. And boxing teaches you how to hide those defensive circles. There's kind of a balance, and you can subtly hide those circular movements, you know, with semi pivots and things like that into and out of situations. So, you know, whereas when I was fighting in Muay Thai, there was so much aggression. It was so aggressive, so direct. And here I could change the distance subtly. You know, 4 inches is the difference between landing something flush and missing something. So I could step out of range subtly or move myself subtly in a way that my opponent would miss. Yeah. And then, you know, I was safe to counter. I did way more counter fighting as a, you know, once I incorporated boxing. So it really helped balance me out. I was now getting to angles where I could attack, but it was a safety first attack. I knew I was attacking from a place where I couldn't be hit as easily versus a place where, hey, I'm tougher than you, I'm faster than you, I'm stronger than you. I can take whatever you're putting out here. Can you take what I'm doing? And not meeting my opponent as head on as I used to. So it really, you know, and we had a discussion, I think, with Steph the other night, where we were talking about how crafty a fighter Vasyl Lomachenko is. And that's one of the things you notice is he gets to these angles and it's a safety first approach, but he can still counter or strike you from those angles. And then he's pivoting out, he's stepping out in a defensive manner, you know, in a circular motion. Yeah, it is. It's
So Hayden, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Eric earlier. Thanks to the Olympics, our committee has added 2 female weight classes, as well as slimming down the male weight classes. So now there's less weight classes for men. And there's also talks that they're going to be allowing professional fighters into the Olympic Games, where there'd only ever been allowed amateur fighters in the past. Right. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, so for a long time, I thought that's fair because especially a nation like the United States, and I'll address first the professional versus amateur. We in this hemisphere have been at a grave disadvantage because we've got nations that are, you know, that are government run in terms of their sports programs, right? So they don't have professional sports. What they have are career or professional amateurs. So when you take our amateurs and you put them up against those guys, you might as well be fighting pros. These guys would have so many more professional fights and so much more world experience than they did. So now we can finally get the best to fight the best. And that's what it is. If it were Olympic tennis, if it were Olympic anything else, you know, basketball, we you know, we don't send collegiate ball players over there. We send professional ball players over there. Right. And that's the only way we can truly have equality and have a level playing field in that regard. Yeah. So that's how I feel about that. When it comes to adding more weight classes, weight divisions for women, I think it's so much better, and it helps refine and streamline things. Refinement because, you know, just 5 pounds difference, you know, 5-7 pound weight difference is huge if it's functional weight, right? When you add 5 or 7 pounds of quality functional muscle that you can take into a fight to your body, that can be as they say, a game changer, right? So having such weight disparities at times, you know, and having a naturally smaller person fighting a naturally bigger person in a weight division, someone at the bottom of the weight class versus someone at the top, you know, gives a decisive power to weight advantage sometimes. So I like that. I think it's fair. With reducing the men's, I think it stops a lot of the guys from being able to run and hide in places. You know, you've got a lot of guys at 122 and a lot of guys at 125. It's time to start, making these guys decide. They're going up and calling themselves multi-division champions, and they can hide out there until somebody else leaves and then move up. And it cuts down some of the logjam we get, and forces more of the fights that the fans want to see and deserve to see.
I hear what you're saying there.
I'm curious to hear what Eric's response was to that.
I think Eric disagreed with you.
Yeah, I would imagine. He's very interesting. He brings a totally different concept, a totally different perspective at times, and it makes you think. I'm for me personally, I try to look at it from a fan's perspective, and sometimes that's hard as a fighter to remove yourself from that situation where you're looking to side with the fighter and the fighter's strategies and the fighter's goals and the fighters. At the end of the day, this is entertainment, and we are doing this as a sport, not just for ourselves, but for the fans. So, to give the fans as much as we can, that's how we preserve our sport. That's how we preserve the integrity of fandom too.
For sure, 100%. We were talking a little bit about weight classes earlier, and weight cutting. The difference between like UFC and One Championship, boxing, and amateurs, all have different rules set around weight cutting. Do you think that weight cutting 24 hours to 48 hours before your fight makes for a fair fight?
So we've had so many numerous discussions about this, and when I was fighting, I walked around very close to weight, and for me to get beyond 8 or 9 pounds, it was because my trainer said, look, you don't get out of my gym. You don't have anything coming up for a bit, and I don't want you burned out and overtrained. Here's where you can let your joints recover. Here's where you can let your body totally recover. Here's where you can let your mind recover, your attitude, and I want you to miss this a little bit. Get out of my gym. I don't want you to do anything, not road work, anything other than warm up and stretch yourself out. And don't be ridiculous. Don't go get into trouble. But, and I think that we'll see more quality fights, better matchups when we start making these guys weigh in right before a fight, just like we do in the amateurs. When we fought in the amateurs, weigh in right before the fight. This is where you should be at this point. Sometimes it's like the not always is the best fighter winning. It's the bigger, stronger, good fighter. He's good enough to add those other advantages. And sometimes money becomes a factor. Who can afford the doctor? Who can afford the 2 large bore IVs to be administered in his hotel room to rehydrate him up while he's sucking down Pedialyte to get back to a weight safely, and showing up at a fight 15, 18 pounds heavier than he was, the day before. I think, it's just, we need to level the playing field and stop allowing, because it is a choice, but encouraging and rewarding these fighters for depleting themselves like that, and the long-term damage that they may be doing to their kidneys and just their overall renal system and things like that. Their nervous system, even by the depletion of electrolytes if they can't get them back in time.
I hear you. So it was really great to talk to you, Hayden. Thank you so much for coming on. Myself and Matt both really appreciate it. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, and hopefully we can get you back on again in the near future. This show can also
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure. Champions Corner can also be heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. The Her Network is part of the Spanglish World Media Network. Please check us out at spanglishworld.ca for all your news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it.